Welcome to this video. If you're here, it's probably because you've experienced the frustration and confusion of having someone pull away and wondering what went wrong. It's a common situation we all face, and it's tough, especially when you feel like you're left in the dark, trying to figure out how to make sense of it all. But don't worry, you're not alone, and the good news is that there is a way to handle it that doesn't involve chasing, begging, or playing games. In this video, we'll uncover the subtle yet powerful psychological dynamics at play when someone starts to ignore you, and we'll explore exactly why silence becomes the most effective tool in these situations. We'll dive into why your absence makes someone miss you, why they start to feel the weight of your silence, and how your ability to detach and not chase them is actually what makes you more attractive and intriguing. It's not about manipulation, it's about understanding human behavior and knowing how to respond in a way that puts you in control, not just of the situation, but of your own emotions and mindset. So, if you're ready to learn how to handle these situations with confidence and clarity and discover the ultimate power of silence, stick with me through this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and let's dive into it. Number 1. Why she's pulling away in the first place. When someone starts pulling away, it can leave you feeling confused and unsure about what happened. The truth is, there are several psychological and emotional factors at play when a woman pulls away, and it often has nothing to do with you personally. One of the main reasons a woman might pull back is due to a shift in her emotional state or a change in how she perceives the relationship. Initially, everything may have felt great. You were engaging, attentive, and giving her the attention she needed. But over time, the dynamic can shift. She might begin to feel overwhelmed or uncertain about the future, and when that happens, the natural instinct is to create some emotional space. This space allows her to reassess the relationship and determine whether it's truly what she wants. It's not always about you doing something wrong. Sometimes it's about her needing clarity on what she feels, or whether you both align in the long term. Another reason women pull away is the fear of getting hurt or being vulnerable. If she's been hurt in the past or has trust issues, she may distance herself as a defense mechanism. This is her way of protecting herself from the potential pain of getting too close. She might also begin to question if she's truly emotionally ready for something deeper, especially if things were moving too quickly. Finally, a woman may pull away if she feels that the relationship has become one-sided. If she starts to feel like she's the only one putting in effort, or that you're no longer valuing her the way you once did, she may retreat as a way to regain balance. It's a subconscious attempt to re-establish her sense of worth and avoid feeling taken for granted. In any case, her pulling away isn't necessarily a sign that things are over, but rather a natural part of the emotional ebb and flow that occurs in relationships. Number 2. The silent test you didn't even notice. The silent test is a subtle yet powerful tactic often used by women to gauge a man's level of interest, commitment, and emotional resilience. It's not something that's always obvious, but once you understand it, you can recognize the signs. This test typically happens when a woman starts to pull away and distances herself without any clear explanation. She may stop initiating contact or become less responsive to messages, leaving you wondering what happened. What many men fail to realize is that during this period of silence, she's not necessarily losing interest. She's actually observing how you respond. This period of radio silence is her way of testing your emotional stability and your ability to remain composed. She wants to see if you'll chase after her, beg for her attention, or act desperate for reassurance. In other words, she's testing whether you'll fall into the trap of pursuing her in an anxious and needy way, or if you'll remain calm, patient, and secure in yourself. The reason she conducts this silent test is simple. She's subconsciously trying to figure out if you are emotionally available in a healthy way. She wants to know if you will still value her, but without being overly dependent or reactive. It's also a test of her own worth. She wants to feel desired, but she doesn't want to feel like she's in control of the dynamic. By pulling away, she's giving you the space to show your true intentions, and whether you can handle silence without losing your composure. If you fail the silent test by becoming overly eager, reactive, or clingy, you signal that you may not be the kind of man who can maintain his self-respect in the face of emotional uncertainty. On the other hand, if you stay calm and allow her the space to miss you, you pass the test and increase the chances of her coming back with renewed interest. Number 3. The power of controlled distance. In any relationship, the balance between closeness and space is crucial, and understanding the power of controlled distance can be a game changer. Controlled distance is not about playing games or deliberately pulling away to manipulate someone. It's about creating an environment where both parties can feel comfortable and valued, without either becoming too clingy or too detached. When it comes to relationships, particularly romantic ones, a certain amount of space is necessary to maintain attraction, respect, and emotional clarity. When you master the power of controlled distance, you demonstrate self-confidence and emotional maturity. You show that you are emotionally secure enough not to be overly dependent on the other person for your happiness, but also that you can create a healthy balance between emotional intimacy and personal autonomy. Women, in particular, are often drawn to men who are not overly available all the time. While they appreciate affection and attention, they are also subconsciously attracted to men who don't constantly seek validation from them. Controlled distance allows space for both individuals to maintain their individuality, while also allowing for the mystery and anticipation that are key to sustaining attraction. When you're constantly present and available, a relationship can quickly feel stagnant and predictable. The excitement fades, and over time, one or both people might start to take each other for granted. However, by stepping back and letting the other person miss you, you create a natural rhythm of longing and desire. The key to using controlled distance effectively is knowing when and how to pull back without being emotionally distant or cold. It's about being present and emotionally available, but also not being too eager to please or chase. This distance gives the other person room to think, reflect, and realize what they might be missing. It's this exact balance that reignites curiosity and can draw a woman back to you, often with a deeper appreciation for who you are and what you bring to the relationship. Number 4. What to do instead of chasing. Chasing someone often feels natural when you're emotionally invested in a relationship, but it can be counterproductive. When you constantly chase, you inadvertently signal that you're not self-sufficient and that you're seeking validation from the other person. This can create an imbalance in the dynamic, causing the person you're chasing to feel overwhelmed, pressured, or even lose interest. So, what should you do instead of chasing? The first and most important step is to shift your focus inward. Rather than focusing all your energy on trying to win someone's attention or affection, turn that energy into personal growth and self-improvement. Develop your hobbies, pursue your passions, and work on becoming the best version of yourself. When you're actively growing and evolving, you become more interesting and attractive, not only to others, but to yourself as well. Another crucial aspect is learning the value of detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you no longer care. It means you've reached a point where you're not overly attached to a specific outcome. By practicing detachment, you gain the power to let go of outcomes and trust that things will unfold as they should. Instead of chasing someone, you let them come to you naturally, in their own time and space. It's also important to maintain a sense of self-respect and self-worth. When you're constantly chasing someone, it can feel like you're putting them on a pedestal, diminishing your own value in the process. Instead, value yourself for who you are and stand firm in your own worth. When you exude confidence and self-respect, others are naturally drawn to you. Moreover, don't be afraid of silence or space. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to give the person room to miss you. By pulling back and creating some distance, you create a sense of mystery and intrigue. This natural space allows the other person to reflect on the relationship and potentially realize the value you bring to their life. Ultimately, instead of chasing, focus on becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to chase at all. When you're confident in yourself, live with purpose, and respect both your own needs and those of others, you stop seeking validation and start attracting it naturally. Number 5. When she comes back, how to handle it. When she comes back after pulling away, it can feel like a victory, but how you handle the situation is crucial. If you approach it the wrong way, you risk falling back into old patterns that led to her pulling away in the first place. This moment is pivotal, and your response can make or break the dynamic between you. So, how should you handle it when she reaches out? First and foremost, stay grounded and maintain composure. Resist the temptation to act overly eager or drop everything just because she's reached out. Remember, she's come back to you after a period of absence, and it's important to maintain a sense of control. Don't give her the impression that you're just waiting around for her to decide when to engage. Instead, take your time in responding, showing her that your life continues regardless of her presence. Next, keep your emotional boundaries intact. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of her return, but if you react too emotionally or too quickly, you risk giving away your power. Take a moment to assess the situation and decide if she's truly changed or if this is just a temporary phase. If she's reaching out, it's important to assess her actions, not just her words. Words are easy to say, but it's her behavior that will show you whether she's truly invested. Additionally, allow her to put in the effort to regain your trust and attention. If she genuinely values you, she'll prove it through her actions, not just sweet talk. You don't need to fall back into the trap of making her feel like the center of your world again. Instead, let her work for your attention and re-establish a connection in a way that's balanced and mutual. Lastly, recognize that your value hasn't changed. You've evolved, and you should approach the situation with the same confidence and self-respect that led to your growth in the first place. Don't let her return derail the progress you've made. Stay focused on your goals, continue building yourself up, and maintain the power of your own independence. If she's truly meant to be in your life, she'll have to show you that she deserves to be part of your journey. Number 6. If she never comes back, read this. If she never comes back, it's important to shift your mindset and view the situation through the lens of personal growth and self-respect. While it can feel painful and disheartening when someone you care about doesn't return, it's crucial to understand that this is not a reflection of your worth or value as a person. Instead, it's an opportunity for you to embrace your own journey and keep moving forward with confidence. First, recognize that not all relationships are meant to last forever, and sometimes the person who walks away is simply not the right fit for your life at this moment. If she never comes back, it doesn't diminish what you shared or invalidate the time spent together. It simply means that the dynamic was not meant to continue. People change, circumstances change, and sometimes the best thing that can happen is letting go and accepting that not every connection is destined to last. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, focus on what you can control, your own growth. Use this time as an opportunity to work on yourself, to build new habits, and to further invest in your own goals. This is the perfect moment to refocus your energy on becoming the best version of yourself, without waiting for anyone's validation. When you focus on your own journey, you stop seeking approval from others, and that is when true growth happens. Furthermore, understand that if she never comes back, it's not because you're not good enough. It's often about her own issues or readiness. People's decisions and actions are often driven by their internal world, not yours. You have to respect her decision, even if it's painful. If she chooses not to return, it's her loss, and that's not something you should internalize. Lastly, if she doesn't come back, it's a sign that you are being given the space to move on and find something better suited for you. Life will bring new opportunities, new experiences, and new people into your life. Embrace the unknown with open arms, knowing that your journey doesn't end here, it's just beginning. Number 7. The power of your silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can wield in any relationship, especially when it comes to maintaining your own sense of control and respect. When you master the art of silence, you're not only communicating your worth, but also sending a clear message that you are not desperate for attention or validation. Silence isn't about being cold or distant, it's about creating space for yourself and allowing the other person to reflect on their own feelings and actions. When you remain silent, you put distance between yourself and any unnecessary emotional drama. Silence allows you to reclaim your emotional energy instead of constantly giving it away. It removes you from the position of being overly available, which often leads to the other person taking you for granted. When you're silent, you force them to notice your absence and reevaluate what they had. Your silence acts like a mirror that reflects their feelings and forces them to confront the reality of the situation, making them think about the impact of their actions. The power of silence lies in its ability to shift the dynamic in your favor. It forces the other person to take a step back and ask themselves, why isn't he or she responding? What does this mean? This uncertainty creates a psychological tension that often makes people reevaluate their behavior, especially when they were once accustomed to your attention. It also allows you to set boundaries in a way that doesn't involve confrontation. Your absence sends a clear message that you are not willing to chase or beg for their attention. Ultimately, the power of your silence is rooted in your confidence. It shows that you are comfortable in your own space and that you are not dependent on anyone else for your happiness or sense of worth. By mastering silence, you gain the power to stand firm in your boundaries, maintain control of your emotions, and create a sense of mystery and intrigue that makes you even more attractive. Number 8. Why women underestimate you until you go silent. Women often underestimate a man's value when he is too readily available, overly eager to please, or constantly seeking validation. In relationships, whether romantic or otherwise, when a person knows they can always count on the other to be there, it creates a sense of complacency. The effort to maintain the connection starts to fade, and the person being relied upon might be taken for granted. This dynamic is common, and it's something women often fall into, whether consciously or unconsciously. They may not see your true value until you start exercising the power of silence, creating space and distance between you and them. The moment you go silent, it disrupts this comfortable pattern. Your absence forces her to confront her own actions and evaluate the relationship. The sudden change catches her off guard and makes her question, why isn't he reaching out? This silence is powerful because it gives her time to reflect on what she might have taken for granted: your attention, your time, your emotional investment. At first, she might not even realize why she's feeling unsettled, but over time the realization sets in that your silence means you're not someone who can easily be swayed or manipulated. It's in this absence, where you stop chasing, that your value becomes more apparent. By stepping back, you show her that you're not emotionally dependent on her or anyone else for validation. This subtle shift in dynamic forces her to reassess what she thought she knew about you. You stop being the predictable, always there man, and instead you become a challenge, something to pursue rather than something to possess. When you're silent, you display your own self-respect, which, ironically, makes you more attractive and makes her realize that you're someone worth pursuing. Ultimately, your silence brings clarity, not only to you but to her as well. It highlights that your presence and attention are earned, not freely given, and that's what many women overlook until it's no longer available. Number 9. The moment she starts to feel your absence. The moment a woman starts to feel your absence is a turning point in any dynamic. At first, she may not realize the gravity of your absence. She might assume you'll always be there, available whenever she needs you. But over time, the realization sets in, and the feeling of loss becomes undeniable. Your absence shifts her perception, forcing her to confront the void that's left in your wake. It's not just physical space you've created, it's emotional space too, the kind that stirs something deep within her. When you're no longer the constant presence, she begins to question her assumptions. Did she take you for granted? Was she too comfortable with you being so available? At this point, emotions start to stir within her. She feels a sense of longing, but it's more than just missing your company. It's the sudden awareness of how much you contributed to her emotional well-being, the way your presence anchored her in moments of uncertainty or joy. Now that you're not there, she has to reckon with her own feelings of emptiness and uncertainty. What's important here is that her feelings aren't just rooted in missing you as a person. They're rooted in her understanding that she no longer has control over the situation. When you're present, she can take your attention for granted, but when you withdraw, it forces her to acknowledge that she no longer holds that power. The emotional shift she experiences is not just about you, it's about realizing that she doesn't have you as readily available as she once did. This moment is critical because it activates something deep within her. It awakens her to the reality that perhaps she never truly appreciated you for who you were or the value you brought into her life. And as the absence stretches on, that realization only grows stronger, becoming a bittersweet reminder of what she could lose for good if she doesn't act. Number 10. The unspoken rule of attraction. The unspoken rule of attraction is a powerful and often misunderstood force in relationships. At its core, this rule operates on the idea that what is scarce becomes valuable. When something or someone is readily available, it can easily be taken for granted. But when that availability is diminished or taken away, it instantly increases in value and becomes far more desirable. This is the psychological law of scarcity, and it has a direct impact on attraction. In relationships, the more present you are, the more likely you are to become invisible. If you constantly chase, pursue, or make yourself overly available, you risk losing that sense of mystery and excitement that initially drew her in. The unspoken rule of attraction is simple. Distance creates desire. The moment you step back and pull away, whether by choice or circumstance, you invoke curiosity. She begins to wonder about you, about what you're doing, and most importantly, about what she might be losing. That uncertainty sparks a deeper emotional response, often in ways she doesn't fully understand. When you're always around, she may become accustomed to your presence, and with familiarity often comes complacency. But when you create space, you force her to reevaluate her emotions. She starts to feel the void your absence has created, and suddenly you're no longer just another person in her life. You become an elusive figure, someone whose value becomes more apparent only when it's absent. This rule isn't about playing games. It's about understanding the dynamics of attraction. It's about creating the right balance of presence and absence, ensuring that your value remains high and that you maintain an air of mystery. When you apply this unspoken rule, you shift the power dynamic in your favor. Attraction, in its truest sense, is not about constantly pursuing or begging for attention. It's about letting your absence speak louder than your presence. This is how you reignite the spark and maintain genuine attraction. Number 11. Why she suddenly starts watching you again. When a woman suddenly starts paying attention to you again, especially after a period of silence or distance, it's not just a random occurrence. It's a calculated response to something you've done, or, more importantly, to something you've stopped doing. This behavior is a psychological reaction rooted in the emotional dynamics of relationships. The key to understanding why she's suddenly watching you again lies in recognizing what has shifted: your absence. In most relationships, people grow accustomed to one another's presence. When you're always around, she may take you for granted, thinking that you'll always be there when needed. However, once you pull away or create some distance, this certainty begins to crumble. She may not immediately show it, but the absence of your presence starts to stir a sense of loss, and with it, a renewed interest in what you're up to. She may start monitoring your social media activity, revisiting past conversations, or even asking mutual friends about you. This is not about being possessive or needy. It's a sign that her subconscious mind is re-evaluating the value you brought to her life. At this point, she's likely unsure of where she stands with you. The absence you created has turned you into a mystery, and mystery is one of the most powerful attractions. She wants to know if she's losing you or if you've truly moved on. The act of watching you from a distance, whether through social media posts, observing your behavior, or analyzing old interactions, is a way for her to test this. It's a way of trying to get a glimpse into your life, to check if you're still emotionally available or if you're truly slipping away. Number 12. The subtle signs. She's testing the waters. When a woman pulls away or becomes distant, it's not always a sign that she's lost interest. Often, she's simply testing the waters to gauge where you stand emotionally. These subtle signs of testing aren't always easy to notice, but they reveal a lot about her inner thoughts and feelings. The key to understanding these tests lies in recognizing that she's looking for reassurance, but on her terms. One of the most common ways a woman tests the waters is through indirect communication. She may send a simple "hey" or comment on a post, but don't be fooled. These actions are not as casual as they seem. The goal isn't necessarily to start a conversation. It's more about seeing if you're still available, if you still care. She wants to know if you'll respond eagerly, or if you've become indifferent or detached. If you react too quickly or eagerly, you may unknowingly confirm that you're still emotionally invested, which could end up making her lose interest again. The key is not to chase or jump at every opportunity to engage. Another subtle sign is when she brings up old memories or situations from the past, not necessarily in a deep or emotional way, but more as a casual comment. She may mention times you spent together, or ask about your current activities, just to see if she still holds a place in your life. This is her way of probing your level of emotional investment without directly asking. She may also start interacting with you less predictably, becoming somewhat elusive or unavailable. This unpredictability is a test of your response. Will you continue pursuing her, or will you remain steady, showing that you can be emotionally independent and not reliant on her attention? The goal is to see if she still holds power over you, or if you've become more self-sufficient. Ultimately, when a woman tests the waters, she's looking for a balance of reassurance and distance. She wants to know that you care, but she also wants to see if she can still maintain the upper hand without pushing you away. How you respond will determine if she decides to get closer or pull away even further. Understanding these subtle signs and maintaining a balanced response can help you navigate the situation with confidence. Number 13. How to handle the moment she reaches out. When she finally reaches out after a period of silence or distance, many men think this is the moment they've been waiting for, a chance to reconnect and rebuild the connection. But if you want to avoid falling back into old patterns that caused the initial disconnect, it's crucial to handle the situation with care and confidence. How you respond at this moment can make all the difference. The first thing to remember is that her reaching out does not equate to her being fully committed or ready to dive back into the relationship. It's a test. She wants to see if you're still emotionally available, if you'll react to her on her terms, or if you've grown into someone who's more self-sufficient and harder to read. If you jump at the opportunity to reconnect too eagerly, you risk resetting the power dynamic where she feels in control again. This is a common mistake many men make, believing that they need to prove their interest or devotion by responding quickly and passionately. However, this can make her lose interest just as quickly. Instead, when she reaches out, maintain your composure and stay grounded. Respond with a measured, calm attitude. Don't immediately drop everything in your life to engage with her. This shows that you have a full life outside of her, that you're not waiting for her approval or validation. Be friendly, but not overly eager. Let her see that you've been fine without her presence, that your emotional well-being does not depend on her reaction. Another important aspect to consider is how much effort you're willing to put into the conversation. If she reaches out with a casual message or half-hearted attempt at reconnecting, don't chase her or pour your energy into a conversation that doesn't match your level of commitment. Let her prove through actions, not just words, that she's serious about wanting you back. By handling this moment with the right balance of interest and detachment, you ensure that you're not just someone she can easily call on when it's convenient. You create an aura of mystery and self-respect, which will make her appreciate you more. This is the secret to turning the tables, letting her work for your attention. If she's genuinely interested in rekindling things, she'll show it through consistent effort and genuine communication. And if not, you've learned to move forward without depending on her validation. Number 14. The ultimate mindset shift. The ultimate mindset shift in relationships, particularly when dealing with a woman who's pulling away or testing your boundaries, is understanding one fundamental truth. You never win her over by chasing her. Instead, you win by becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to chase at all. This shift in thinking completely transforms how you approach dating, relationships, and your own sense of self-worth. When you stop chasing, you're no longer desperate for her validation or approval. You're no longer worried about whether she's interested or if she's going to disappear. Instead, you start focusing on your own growth, well-being, and ambitions. This is where true power lies. Not in playing games or manipulating emotions, but in developing a strong sense of self-respect, having clear standards, and knowing your worth. A man with this mindset doesn't place his happiness in the hands of someone else. He values his time, his energy, and his emotional well-being too much to waste it on someone who isn't equally invested. The more you cultivate this mindset, the more attractive you become, not only to women, but to everyone around you. People are drawn to those who are centered, grounded, and comfortable in their own skin. They want to be around people who don't need constant reassurance or attention to feel good about themselves. When you stop chasing, you become a challenge. Women in particular find this irresistible. They are naturally drawn to men who aren't easily swayed by their behavior. You become someone who commands respect without even asking for it. By making her prove that she deserves your time and energy, you set a standard that no one can ignore. Ultimately, the power of this mindset is not about manipulation or control. It's about knowing that your own happiness and success do not depend on anyone else's approval. When you become this man, you not only improve your relationships, you improve your entire life.